Have you ever noticed how some people only realize your worth once you vanish? When you were right there, available, investing your energy, pretty much acting like a loyal puppy, they treated you like a background prop. But the moment you woke up and moved on with your life, boom, suddenly they miss you. Coincidence? Absolutely not. It's actually very simple. When you're always there, predictable and easy, you become part of the scenery like a potted plant in the living room. But the moment you disappear, you turn into a mystery. And guess what? Humans are obsessed with what they can't have. That's when you start getting those random likes, those accidental messages, and that flood of indirect hints worthy of a needy teenager. But is it really genuine regret? Or just a bruised ego desperate to prove it still has control? Why does someone only change their tune after realizing they've truly lost you? And more importantly, should you fall for this emotional trap or move on without a second glance? Stick around till the end, because I'm going to break it all down for you. But before anything else, a quick heads up. This video only exists because someone was kind enough to hit like and subscribe before you did. So don't just mooch off free content, do your part, click that button, subscribe, and drop a thank you in the comments. It's not for me, it's for the almighty algorithm. Because if you just sit there silently, this content goes nowhere. Alright, no more stalling, let's get to the good stuff. 1. The scarcity effect. When you disappear, interest magically appears. Humanity is a pro at disrespecting whatever comes free and worshipping anything that seems out of reach. Want a practical example? Drinking water. Some folks won't even down 1 glass a day, but they'll pay a fortune for imported bottled water because it's fresh from the sacred Swiss Alps. And in relationships, same phenomenon. When you were always there, super eager, replying at lightning speed, doing favors, basically acting like an emotional doormat, you were nothing but a background extra in her personal soap opera. You were like a park bench, always available, always in the same spot, but nobody really pays attention until they need a seat. But then, you vanish. You stop sending good morning texts, stop reacting to her stories, stop broadcasting that pathetic availability that made her treat you like a guaranteed backup. And suddenly, bam! A miracle occurs. She starts missing you. Or does she? Let's be real. Anything that becomes scarce automatically goes up in value. When something is abundant, we ignore it. But when it seems exclusive, unreachable, untouchable, oh, that's when people go nuts. It's just like festival tickets. Nobody cares while there are plenty, but the minute they sell out, everyone starts begging and paying triple on resale sites. Now apply this same logic to you disappearing. Before, she could hit you up whenever she wanted, reply whenever she felt like it, ignore you without a twinge of guilt because she knew you'd always be there. But now, you've evaporated. You're no longer chasing. You're not trying to be noticed. You're no longer her decorative accessory. Her brain goes haywire. Why? Because the human brain hates losing. It's not necessarily about love or genuine regret. It's a raw survival response tied to possession. All of a sudden, that sure thing is gone. And that triggers the oh-so-pathetic attempts to regain control. Random, hey, stranger texts. Translation: do I still have you wrapped around my finger? Weird likes on your old photos. Translation: I'm poking your ego to see if you react. Stories packed with melodramatic hints. Translation: please notice I miss you without me actually saying it. Random dumb questions. Translation: I have nothing real to say, but I want to test your interest. Hold your excitement, champ. Before you start celebrating, thinking she's had a romantic epiphany and finally recognized your worth, remember this crucial fact. It's not you she wants. She wants the control she used to have over you. And if you take the bait and go right back to being easy, congratulations. In a matter of days, you'll be right back where you started. Predictable, guaranteed, and inevitably irrelevant again. Now tell me, have you noticed this pattern in your life? Have you watched as you stopped chasing and like magic became her target? If so, hold on to that thought, because in the next section, we'll dig deeper into why it happens. 2. The fear of seeing you with someone else hurts more than the fear of losing you. She didn't want you. She had all the chances in the world, all the signs, all the opportunities to be with you. And guess what? She couldn't care less. Now, the moment you move on, glow up, take better care of yourself, and catch other women's eyes. Suddenly she returns, rising from the ashes like a telenovela villain. Coincidence? Not a chance. The issue here isn't regret, nostalgia, or love. It's a simple word: ego. What many women can't stand isn't losing a man. It's seeing that man happy with someone else. Because while you were there, available, begging for her attention, she saw zero reason to want you. You were like a 24-hour restaurant, always open, always ready to serve, so nobody gives a damn. But the moment another woman notices what she's been ignoring, that's when the panic sets in. And let's be crystal clear, it's not love, it's wounded pride. Some women just can't stand the thought that the guy who once crawled for them is now out there smiling, traveling, living his best life, especially if he's doing it with somebody new. It's an internal alarm bell. It's infuriating. It pokes at their ego. So then what happens? She starts testing you. Subtle investments. A suspicious like on some random photo, a nonsensical comment, or even just watching your stories to see if you notice. If she senses you still respond, she might up the ante, send a, "Hey, been thinking about you," start a chat out of nowhere, or even drop an "I miss you" to see if you bite. But what's her real goal? Plain and simple, to confirm she still has power over you. Because some women don't want an ex back out of love. They just want to know that if push comes to shove, they can still have him. That he's still on the table. If you fall for that little game, congrats. You're right back in that old cycle. You give attention, she pretends to care, she ignores you again, and you end up back at square one. Now, if you ignore it, if you keep living your life without giving any attention to her manipulative nonsense, if you keep growing, investing in yourself, refusing to fall for this cheap emotional bait, that's when she really feels the blow. Because some women only realize a man's worth once they see he no longer needs them. Once they realize they've truly lost something good. And in the next point, you'll understand exactly why that happens. 3. Why do some women only value a man when he no longer needs them? There's a specific moment when the tables turn. It's not when you disappear for a week. It's not when you play little jealousy games to provoke her. It's when you genuinely move on. Because as long as there's a shred of hope, as long as there's even a glimmer of a dream that you're still waiting around, suffering, ready to come back at the slightest gesture, she doesn't feel the loss. But when you cut the emotional cord, when you rebuild yourself, grow, start valuing your own worth, and most importantly, free yourself emotionally, that's when the panic sets in. Up to that point, in her mind, you were a guaranteed plan B. That guy who'd always be there, easy access whenever she wanted. Suddenly, that door slams shut, and reality hits her. But here's the twisted part. She caused this. Some women intentionally play this game. They test you, make it difficult, ignore your messages, act indifferent. Not because they don't want you, but because they want to see how far you'll chase them. If you tolerate this nonsense and keep insisting, congrats, you've just lowered your value. Because you've proven you're not a challenge, that you'll accept any scrap, any disrespect, any negligence, as long as she gives you a tiny bit of attention. But when you finally wake up, when you're done playing around and realize you don't have to beg for affection, when you stop accepting crumbs, focus on yourself, and move on without looking back, that, my friend, is when the game changes completely. Because that's the one move very few men make. Most guys will grovel. Most guys settle for less than they deserve. Most guys stay stuck in that emotional roller coaster. But when a man shows he's not emotionally dependent on anyone, he becomes rare. And what's rare is valuable. And what's valuable isn't something you beg for. And what isn't begged for becomes desired. Now, pay attention. If you're sick of being treated like a backup plan, if you're tired of being a doormat, chasing after someone who clearly doesn't value you, it's time to wake up. There's a digital book linked in the description that'll teach you how to stop being a pushover, how to become a real challenge, and how to put any woman in her place without mercy. Because enough with being stomped on, enough with being tossed aside, and enough with settling for crumbs. The game has changed. Now, you make the rules. 4. The reality check. When her plan B goes down the drain. She tossed you aside without a second thought, like swapping clothes or picking a restaurant on a food delivery app. Maybe she thought she could do better. Maybe you were too predictable, too accessible, so she fell for the illusion of infinite options. But reality comes for everyone. While you were off the radar, rebuilding, improving, and growing, she went on with her life taking a big gamble. Maybe she replaced you with a guy who seemed more exciting, more bad boy, more stylish. Or maybe she just assumed she could replace you with the next person who came along. But here's the beautiful part. Time will tell. And then she faces the inevitable question. What happens when her plan B goes bust? Simple. She starts looking backward. Suddenly, that guy who seemed so great doesn't feel so special anymore. That hasty choice now looks like a mistake. And so, out of nowhere, she remembers you. Remembers the guy who was always there, loyal and ready to make things work. But now it's too late. And before you fool yourself into thinking it's love, here's the cold, hard truth. It's not real longing. It's not genuine remorse. It's raw emotional panic. Because she traded stability for uncertainty. She bet big and lost. Now, what's left? Revisiting the past, of course. Looking for emotional shelter in the guy who once proved he'd always be around. And here comes the million-dollar question. Do you want to be the emotional refuge for someone who never valued you? Do you want to be second choice for a person who once placed you in second place? Because if you give in, if you take her back without any real changes, what happens? You repeat the same old cycle. You face the same disinterest. You endure the same indifference. Because it's not about love. It's not about worth. It's about convenience. And if there's one thing a self-respecting man should never be, it's convenient. So the question isn't what she's feeling. The question is, what are you going to do about it? In the next section, we'll talk about exactly how to handle this situation. 5. What to do. When this happens, now that you see the shady game for what it is, here's the big question. How do you not fall for it? Because most guys, bless their hearts, get totally fooled at this point. They assume her return means she finally values them, that everything's going to be different now, that she wants something real. The truth? Way harsher. In most cases, she doesn't want you. She wants to confirm she still has you, that if she needs it, you're still on standby, like an old shoe in the back of the closet. So how do you avoid being that old shoe? Don't drag the past into your present. The worst mistake a man can make is feeling obligated to reopen the door for someone who wasted their chance. If you've gotten to a place where you genuinely know your worth, where you're happy without her, where you're thriving without that relationship, what's the point of going back? The question you have to ask is, does she really want me back because she loves me, or because her plan went south? If the answer is the latter, you already know what to do. Absolutely nothing. Recognize the pattern and don't get fooled. Anytime a woman who once blew you off comes crawling back, analyze the situation with a cool head. Did she only come back after you stopped chasing? Did she only show interest once she saw you were fine on your own? Did she only regret it when another woman entered the picture? If you said yes to any of these, congrats, it's not love. It's a bruised ego. And if you let yourself get caught in that, you'll be right back in the same loop. So instead of dancing to her manipulative tune, do this. Don't answer "Hey stranger" texts. Don't feed into meaningless drama. Stay focused on your own progress. Keep moving forward without looking back. Now here's the part that separates grown men from boys, accepting this harsh truth. When a woman truly cares about a man, she doesn't put him at risk. She doesn't toy with his time. She doesn't need him to disappear to realize she feels something. If she only valued you after she lost you, That means she never truly valued you in the first place. And now that you know that, what's your move? Simple. Move forward. Keep living your best life. Focus on what really matters, you. Because a man who truly values himself knows that the past needs to stay where it belongs, in the past. Now you understand the game. Now that your eyes are open, everything clicks. You know exactly why some women only see your worth after you've moved on. And more importantly, you know it has nothing to do with true love. Because it's not real longing. It's not heartfelt remorse. It's panic. It's wounded ego. It's simple possessiveness. She doesn't miss you. She misses the control she had over you. So when it happens, you got two options. Go back to that energy-draining cycle that ate up your time, your self-esteem, and your peace of mind. Or stay locked onto what truly matters. Your growth, your peace, and your happiness. And one lesson every man needs to learn is this. Those who lost you by choice should live with that choice. And you should live your life without ever glancing back. Now tell me, have you been through this before? Did you ever have someone who only realized your value after you'd already moved on? I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. If this video spoke to you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Here, we tell it like it is, no sugarcoating. See you in the next video.